I'm going to call the Municipal Building Commission meeting of May 7th, 2025 to order at 5:30 p.m. And for the record, we have Ed Stanton, Jackie Romanicki, Jerry Freecott, Jay Allard, and myself. That gives us a quorum. We have all sorts of minutes to approve. They were all sent out to us. Has everybody looked them over?
Briefly.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Will you be my designated seconder tonight?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. We have Dennis Morton, the new water superintendent, and Matt Crotty. Are you now back to being the assistant?
I am.
Here tonight, and the only thing that we have on our agenda is water department stuff. So, please come forward, whichever one of you or both of you. I see we have a bill for the Attleboro Pawtucket Water Interconnect, so do you want to give us a brief update on that and tell us whether we should pay the bill?
Sure, the bill is in order to be paid. We're, as you saw, at the substantial completion point. I think it's just a matter of the department wanting the operational staff to have a little additional training, and we had a flow meter issue where there was a display issue, but that's been resolved, and we now can see a totalizer on there. So we now know what Pawtucket is due and what we use for water during that 3-day testing period, and going forward we'll be able to keep it. It is tied into SCADA at this point, but we wanted to know what kind of production we put out in that 3-day period. So it was in the neighborhood of 370,000 gallons, which off rough math.
Is there a meter, or?
There is a meter. It's a mag meter. So.
Which means a huge meter, not the meter in my basement.
Correct, yeah, and it's got a digital display on it and everything, and now it's tied into SCADA, but for a portion there it wasn't. So we wanted to know what was due to Pawtucket and what our total was that was put out. We could get a rough idea based on when SCADA was tied into the production, but we wanted to be able to get Pawtucket paid and to know that everything's accurate moving forward, so that's all set.
So,
And that number came out to around $1,900, so.
well, it's a small price to be sure that we have in place what we started 8 years ago.
Long time coming.
Yeah. So is there a request that we declare substantial completion?
Yes, I think we're at that point where.
Has the designer put forth the paperwork that we need, Mason? Or
They, I don't have substantial completion requests in hand. I just have the application for payment. Did you guys get a?
I believe we did, so we
Okay.
can look to get that forth. I thought that was all together, but I can look that everything is in order there. I know, so maybe it's coming down the line, but they did make that request.
Yeah, they had decreased retainage to 2%, but I don't know if maybe that it's possible that was at one of the previous meetings. I don't apologize for not, since I wasn't here. I'm not sure, but
I don't remember us
Okay.
having a substantial completion request.
No, I believe they both came around the same time, so.
So Mason, would it be appropriate for us to declare substantial completion as of whatever date is supplied to you on the paperwork when you get it?
I think you could probably table the vote until next.
Table it till the next time?
Yeah, I think that's fine, but I think we can move forward with the application as presented.
Okay, good. So we will table substantial completion to our next meeting, which, this says June 4th special meeting, but I think it's a regular meeting, right?
Should be. We will check on
So if you get the paperwork to Mason, it'll be on the agenda for the next meeting.
Absolutely.
So, any questions concerning the Attleboro Pawtucket interconnection? Seeing none, then a motion is in order to approve application number 15 from Waterline Industries in the amount of $112,432.85.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, why don't we move on to PFAS. I can see Matt Barry is with us by Zoom. Hi. Do you want him to talk? Do you want to talk?
Yeah, I'll just give a brief update and then Matt can take over from there. So we had a few requests that we were awaiting a meeting and a couple items that we requested Matt get back to us on, which we're in the process of scheduling that for next week. But essentially, we wanted to get our sample schedule, pre-startup sample schedule in order. We have all the sample bottles for that. So we'll be looking to schedule the residence installation for the PFAS vessels relatively soon. There is going to be a month wait. Matt can speak to that. But we wanted to get our sample schedule for pre-startup in order before we move forward with anything. But Matt was also addressing some other things for us, requests that we had. And Matt can speak to the rest of that.
You got the floor, Matt.
Sure. Yeah, we have a few outstanding items with BISCO. We have some labels within the plant for the piping, sample locations, valves. We basically just want all of those identified so they can also be listed in the O&M. Once that's complete, we'll have the draft O&M. Even if we don't get those labels done within the next week, we're still going to have a draft O&M with us when we meet with you and Dennis next week, so we can go over that when we meet. And then we can look into scheduling sort of some pre-startup training, just look at the bag filters, kind of work through some of that O&M stuff. And then once the media can get scheduled, we can also go back to BISCO with Carlson Systems and get someone out there for the self-cleaning filters. Now that we have that platform built, that PJ did a great job on, where we can actually have access to those filters and sort of go through the training on dismantling those, knowing what parts would need to be changed out and maintained and reassembled. So those few items we're just trying to nail down so we can get this system up and running for you.
So we're still waiting on the media to be delivered, is that correct?
Correct.
Media is on site.
Oh, it's on site?
Installed.
The media is on site, it is not installed yet. Basically, the crux of that is because this is raw water, the second that the media is installed, pretty much within the next 24 to 48 hours after that, you need to have the system online and running. Having the media sit in that raw water, we don't want any bacteria to grow in it. So it's one of those things where once we commit and the media is installed, the system will be running. It will be online. That's why we waited to install the media at the request of the water department so that we could maintain the 1.6 MGD out of that site because the temporary building is only designed for 1 MGD. So that 600,000 gallons a day was very important during the emergency period for the water department to be able to use that additional water.
Which it's not the contractor doing the work that does the media install. It's a separate company, Adage, that would need to come in and do that media install.
Okay, and when are we looking at having that done?
Last we had heard, as soon as we gave the go-ahead, we were looking around a month for them to get in, if that still remains true.
Yes, correct. About 4 to 6 weeks.
So it may not be in time for our June 4th meeting, it may be after that?
Correct.
Okay. So I assume we've been talking about the temporary plant. We'll get to the permanent one in a minute. Any questions from the commission? For Mason?
Yep.
Okay, then I don't think there's any actions you need us to take at this point, right?
No, there is not.
Okay, so let's move on to the big news of the day, which is the permanent facility. I think, if I remember right, we originally thought that the hard costs would be around 30 million, but then we upped those expectations based on the December cost estimates as well as based on the BABA requirements. But it looks like we did pretty well.
We did pretty well. So we had estimated initially to be around 32 to 33 million. And then we had the BABA requirements that came in, which we were unsure of what that potential markup would be. With the uncertainty with the market and everything else, that's when we went back to City Council and we appropriated additional funding. But the bids came in at, and I'm going to give you a total bid. What we did was we had a base bid for the treatment plant, and we also had an additive alternate for demolition of the old plant. And just the reason we broke that out was because of funding. We wanted to make sure that we had enough for the permanent plant, and then, you know, if we had enough funding afterwards, then we would demo the existing plant. So total price, base bid and alternate from the low bidder was $32,973,000. So that was what we considered to be, all things considered, everything wrapped into it was a great price. When you look at it from the bid price, the way that SRF looks at it is with the bid price, you're allowed a 5% contingency. Pre-bid, when you're doing an estimate, you carry a 10% contingency. So with the bid, with the 5% contingency, plus we also have the engineering contract for construction administration, and also the on-site resident work. Plus we are also carrying the OPM costs under the SRF portion of that. So our total, essentially our total project cost comes out to $37,241,000. So the appropriated amount through SRF was $35,181,000. So total, we're only about $2 million over our initial appropriation, which dates back to pre-design. This was December 2023, I believe, is when the original SRF application went in. So all things considered, the fact that we went through the 100% design with BABA and everything else, to have only exceeded that initial appropriation by about $2 million, and that we're nowhere near the $50 million that we had originally that we went back to reappropriate is fantastic. So that's where we stand right now. If you guys have any questions, I'll gladly answer them.
So it is important then that we did go back to the city council because we only had 35, right, Mason?
That was what was authorized, 35,181. That was based on the December 2023 number, correct?
So now we're at 37.2, did you say?
I believe it's 50.
So
But you mean the actual, the estimate. But that one assumption in there is the estimate we're carrying for OPM right now. So we're in the process of working on that contract right now. We're expecting.
that was my next question,
Yeah.
was where we stand on that. But I just wanted to make sure that, so we're now in a position where at some point the city will borrow far less than the 50 million, and at some point the administration may ask that the bond amount be reduced. Is that
Correct.
what would
Yeah,
happen?
at some point, depending on, at this point, it would, any delta between what's actually needed for the project and the authorization would just be authorized unissued debt. And then once the project closes out, you can reduce that authorization. With the OPM, just the update is, reached out to them again yesterday. They're supposed to have their proposal in tomorrow with their cost estimate and broken out by all the different tasks and specifications in the specs that we had put out on the street. And they're also going to include some of their recommendations for other services that they think are advantageous for this project, and we'll negotiate from there. But we're trying to have that executed as quick as possible because these submissions that Matt and I have been back and forth on are time sensitive. So we're going to work to expedite that over the next couple of weeks.
Very good. So Matt, the low bidder was what company?
Daniel O'Connell's Sons Incorporated.
And they're a well-known
so
contractor, right?
Sorry, Jack, go ahead.
I said they're a very well-known contractor, right? I've heard that name
Correct.
many times over the years. And so you did
Yeah,
you did the evaluation. They're DCAM eligible. Their bonding limits are not an issue. Everything's in order.
Correct. Correct. So because of the value of this project, all of these contractors were pre-qualified. So back in the late fall of '24, all of the general contractors who were allowed to bid on this project were all pre-qualified. We've already gone through all their references. We've already talked to their banks. We've looked at their equipment. We've looked at their employees. Really, it's been a full vet of every single GC. So the 4 GCs who actually did submit a bid were already pre-qualified. So that's a process that, Mason, I'm not sure if you were around for that.
Yeah, I was.
But we worked with Deb and Laura and Courtney at the time to basically go through all those contractors. So yes, they're DCAM certified, bonded, all that kind of stuff. So once we get through the award and get to actually signing contracts, we'll be requesting the bonds and insurance, and we'll go through all of those, make sure all of those are vetted. So yes, this contract has been well vetted ahead of time.
When are you projecting that we'll have a contract signed and they'll be actually getting to work?
Well, I think the first matter is a recommendation to award, which we have.
Right, well, we're
from-
gonna do that in a minute.
Yeah,
right?
and then the contract is basically what was included in the bid, so we should be able to execute it pretty quickly, but everything has to be submitted to SRF by June 30th, but we're trying to get that in the next couple weeks along with the OPM contract as well. Is that consistent, Matt?
So the authorization to award, as soon as we have the OPM contract, we can submit that to SRF. Everything else is ready to go. DEP will review the authorization to award package. Once they approve that, we can issue the notice to award. At which point we would then do contract bonds and insurance. And as long as we have that contract in place prior to June 30th, that's when the city would get principal forgiveness. So that's our hard drop dead date that we're shooting for, is June 30th. We don't want to get up against that, so we still have 7 weeks to work through this. We want to get this authorization to award package in ASAP, just because there's so many treatment plants part of this round of SRF this year, that we're pretty sure that the SRF program is going to be inundated with these authorization to award packages. So we just want to make sure we get this in, give DEP time to review it, and then make sure they get that back to us, and that gives us time to go through our contracts, our bonds and insurance.
And we haven't heard that Washington is pulling the funding.
This is through the state, but.
Well, no, because the money's coming from the
Oh,
feds.
some of their money,
that's-
yeah, I mean, but no, we actually just got,
That has definitely not been mentioned, so
Yeah,
it could be.
we just
get
got,
there.
we just got notice that the project was continued on the draft IUP for next year. So we, they basically, because they do 15 million per year,
Yep.
and then, the last year is sort of the tailing amount, but depending on the size of the project. So we just got a notice that we're on the draft IUP for next year as well, so that's good news, progress.
Good. So, Matt, your firm is recommending that we accept the bid of Daniel O'Connell's Sons, and I believe you put that in writing and it was sent out to the commission members, correct?
Correct.
And so therefore, I think a motion is in order. I was waiting for Ed to come back, but he hasn't come back yet. That's why I was stalling here, Mason. Because a motion would be in order to recommend to the mayor that we execute and here he is, perfect.
Perfect timing. We were waiting on you.
Sorry.
So a motion is in order to recommend to the mayor that the city execute a contract with Daniel O'Connell's Sons in the amount of, whatever it was. that Matt just-
32,973,000.
Yeah.
Correct, Matt?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you, both Matts and Dennis. Is there anything else you need to bring to our attention tonight?
No?
No news is good news. All right, then, Mason, is there anything else we need to do tonight, or should we adjourn?
Should be everything on the agenda, good to go.
We're good.
Good to go.
Motion is in order to adjourn at 5:50.
Move to adjourn.
Okay.
Okay, you have to say
Second.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.